Hi everyone, in this video we'll be talking about graphing inequalities and interval notation. We are in our Unit 3 packet, so if you're in Ms. Drake's class, you should be following along in your notes packet, or you can take notes on a separate sheet of paper. The do now is to just review some vocabulary from 7th grade. These are symbols you should be familiar with, so let's take a moment and try to match the symbols here with the vocabulary words on the right. Okay. This is the greater than symbol, so you should have matched these. This is the less than or equal to symbol. This is the less than symbol. This is the greater than or equal to symbol. And this is the equal sign. Okay, in this unit, instead of talking about equations with equal signs like we did in the first 2 units, we'll be talking about inequalities. So that's basically like an equation, but instead of an equal sign, we'll have one of these 4 symbols in place instead. That means our solution, instead of being just one number or 2 numbers like we had seen in the previous units, we may have a whole interval of numbers. Okay, so let's turn the page and take a look at some vocabulary. Okay, so the symbols less than or greater than, when we transfer this to a number line, we're going to be using an open circle at the endpoint. So if we're using a greater than symbol, we will have an open circle, and we'll be shading that number line to the right. Okay. If we have a less than symbol, we would have an open circle and shading our number line to the left. Okay. If we have a less than or equal to, that means the number itself that the dot is on top of will be included. The open circle is not included. So if it's included, we'll have a closed circle because of the equal sign, and this would be shaded to the left. This would be a closed circle shaded to the right. Okay. Now, if we don't have an endpoint and we have arrows at our ends, anything pointing all the way to the left on the number line will be going towards negative infinity, and anything going all the way to the right on the number line will be going towards positive infinity. Okay. So we won't have endpoints, we'll have arrows. So this would be an arrow going this way for negative infinity, or an arrow going that way for positive infinity. Okay. When we transfer to interval notation, wherever you see an open circle, we would be using a parenthesis. That means that that endpoint is not included. If you have a closed circle or an equal sign, it means the endpoint is included, and you can use these braces. Anytime you have infinity symbols, you'll have parentheses, which are not included. These are notes you can refer back to as we're doing the practice questions on the next page, but I will just go through the questions with you. Again, if you have questions as you're doing the practice, you can always refer back here. Okay. So the first inequality we're going to look at is x is greater than or equal to 3. What that means is that x can be equal to 3 or anything bigger than it. So on your number line, we want to start with 3 in the middle, so whatever this number is, it's going to go in the middle. And then we need to have at least one number less than 2 and one number greater than 4. You could include more numbers, but you don't have to. Okay. This equal sign means I'm including the number 3 in my solution, so I'm going to have a closed circle. And then I also want to shade anything that is bigger than 3. So which direction are the numbers bigger than 3? Everything to the left or everything to the right? These are the numbers that are bigger than 3. So 4, 5, 6, anything to the right of the 3 would be included in this inequality. So I'm going to shade my number line to the right and put an arrow at the end, because all the numbers on this side of the number line are also greater than 3. I like to think of my inequality symbol as like an arrow pointing to the right towards the bigger numbers. So that's going to help you remember which way to shade. Okay, for interval notation, I'm always starting with the smallest number, comma, the biggest number. That's included in my solution. So the number that they're giving you here is always one of your endpoints. The 3 is the smaller of the endpoints. And then because I have an arrow, I don't really have an endpoint. This is going all the way to infinity. So this interval notation is saying this is everything from 3, including the 3 because of the closed circle or the equal sign. So I'll put a bracket around the 3. And then all the way to infinity, which will get a parenthesis. Okay, number 2 is asking us to graph x is less than negative 8. So that means x is anything less than negative 8, but not negative 8 itself because it does not have that equal sign. So the number in the middle can be the negative 8, and then you want one number just to the left, so let's say negative 9, and one number just to the right, so let's say negative 7. Because it's a less than sign and there's no equal sign, I'm going to have an open circle. That means the negative 8 is not included. And then think of this as an arrow pointing to the left. I'm going to shade the number line all the way to the left. These are where the numbers are less than negative 8, like negative 9, negative 10, negative 11, negative 12, anything to this side. Okay, I shade in the arrow because all the numbers on this side of the number line are also less than negative 8. When I go over to interval notation, my endpoint on the left is really an arrow. So that really means negative infinity. Okay, and the largest number that's on my number line is negative 8. Because of the open circle, the negative 8 is not included, so I will use a parenthesis. And infinities always get a parenthesis no matter what, so I'll have a parenthesis on this side as well. Okay, let's take a look at number 3. This says negative 5 is less than x is less than or equal to negative 1. Because I have two inequality symbols here, that means I'll have two endpoints. Here I had one inequality symbol, so I had one endpoint. So this one's going to be an open circle, because there's no equal sign. This one will be a closed circle. Because I have two endpoints and x is in between, that really just means I'm going to shade everything between the negative 5 and the 1. Okay, so I'm going to start 1 less than negative 5 all the way over here at negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so an open circle at the negative 5, a closed circle at the 1, and I'm going to shade everything in between. That means x can be anything as long as it's bigger than negative 5 and less than or equal to negative 1, so anything in between. When I write that interval notation, I'll use my two numbers as my minimum and my maximum, so negative 5, comma 1. The open circle means I get a parenthesis, and the closed circle means I get a bracket. Okay. And number 4, the last one in this section, says x is not equal to 5. So that means x can be anything as long as it's not 5. So I'm going to put 5 in the middle. I'll put one number to the left, so 4, and one number to the right, so 6. So since x is not 5, 5 is not included. That means I'll have an open circle at the 5, and I'm going to shade everything else, including my endpoints with arrows, the ends of my number lines with arrows. And we're not going to worry about the interval notation for that one. Okay, at this point I'm going to have you pause the video and try the next section. After you try it, you can play the video again, and I'll go over 5, 6, and 7. Okay, for number 5, in interval notation, this is saying everything from 2 to 8. The parenthesis means an open circle at the 2, and the bracket means a closed circle at the 8. So the 2 is not included, but the 8 is. And then we're going to shade everything in between. So on your number line, we want to include the numbers 2 and 8. I'm going to start at 0 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. As long as you can fit those two numbers on your number line, you're okay. So an open circle at the 2, a closed circle at the 8, and I'm going to shade everything in between. Okay. Now the inequality is going to be written similar to this one, where x is in between 2 and 8. Both of these will always be less than signs. So let's see, this one is not included, so I'll have a less than with no equal sign. And this is a closed circle, so I'll have a less than or equal to because the 8 is included. So this is saying x is everything bigger than 2, but also less than or equal to 8. Okay, number 6. This is saying everything from 3 with a bracket, so the 3 is included, we'll have a closed circle there, to infinity. So an infinity sign doesn't have an endpoint. Infinity signs have arrows. It's going to be going all the way to positive infinity. In the middle of my number line, I need the number 3, and then one number less, so 2, and one number more, so 4. Okay, at the 3, I can put my closed circle and shade all the way to the right towards positive infinity. Okay, my inequality starts with x, and I'm pointing towards the numbers that are greater than 3. I'm including 3, so I also get an equal sign. So x is greater than or equal to 3. Okay, number 7. This is saying everything from negative infinity, so that's going to be my arrow pointing to the negative numbers, all the way to 6. Because I have a parenthesis, the 6 is not included. So I'm going to have an open circle at the 6 and shading towards the negative numbers. So in the middle I need 6, one number to the left would be 5, one number to the right would be 7. Okay. Open circle at the 6 and shade everything to the left, okay, all the way towards negative infinity. Right? That includes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and all the negatives. My inequality, always start with x, and I'm pointing towards the negative number, so it's less than. I don't have an equal sign because it's an open circle, and I have my 6 here. Okay, at this point, I want to have you pause the video and try 8 through 11. Welcome back. I hope you tried 8 through 11, and I'm going to go over them now. So this graph for number 8 is starting at the 4 with a closed circle and going towards negative infinity. So we always start with my smaller number and then my larger number. So my minimum is at this arrow, the negative infinity, and it goes all the way to 4. Infinities always get a parenthesis, and the 4 is going to get a bracket because I have that closed-in circle. Okay, and then the inequality is always going to be x, and then whatever the endpoint is 4. And since I'm pointing towards the negative numbers or negative infinity, I'm going to have a less than sign and an equal sign. So x is less than or equal to 4. So I have the equal sign because of the closed-in circle. Okay, number 9. I have 2 endpoints, which means I'll have 2 numbers. I won't have an infinity symbol. So the first number is 2. That's my one endpoint. And the other endpoint is 5. So this is all the numbers from 2 to 5. The 2 is included because of the closed circle, so that would get a bracket. And the 5 is not included because of the open circle, that would get a parenthesis. Because I have 2 endpoints, I'm going to have an inequality written like this with x in the middle. I'll have the 2 on this side, the 5 on this side. And then remember, they're always going to be less than signs. You just have to decide if there's an equal sign or not. So because of the bracket or the closed circle, this will be less than or equal to. So 2 is less than or equal to x, which means x is greater than or equal to 2. So all these numbers are greater than 2. And also less than 5. There's no equal sign because it's a open circle. Okay, number 10. I don't know if you can see that well with the photocopy. In the picture online, it's a red number line. Everything is shaded in. So the interval notation for this, x is everything. So we say it's everything from negative infinity to infinity. And then the inequality, if you think back to when we had all real numbers as solutions, we can write that big R to say all real numbers are solutions. Okay. And then lastly, number 11, everything is shaded in except for 0. So we're not going to worry about interval notation for that one, but the inequality would be x is not equal to 0. Okay, so those are your notes for this lesson. When you turn the page, you have 1 through 9 as practice problems. So I'm going to post the answer key for that. So try those. I'll post the answers, and then your homework is going to be 1 through 3. Okay, so take a few minutes, try 1 through 9. I'll post a link to the answers, and you know what? I'm also going to, let's see if I can do this, put the answer key right here. Okay, so try 1 through 9, and here are your answers. Good luck, and let me know if you have any questions.